Since the start of our series, Maryland Cold Cases, back in November, DNA has come up an awful lot.
That's right. Every day, detectives are submitting and resubmitting evidence, hoping for a match. But how does that process work, and is it really helping to solve the crimes?
Well, here's ABC 2 News' Roosevelt Leftwich with a look at the cold case DNA.
We received a message.
In the world of television crime dramas,
I analyzed the bomb fragments that Ducky pulled from Sergeant Jennings' body.
all it takes
Each sheet has its own specific watermark. All you gotta
is the time in between commercials, and before you know it,
We have a match.
the crime is solved. But in real life, that just isn't the case.
It doesn't just take 15 minutes. It's a lot of work. We got many samples to go through, and it's not just, you pop something in a test tube and you're done. It's a long, laborious process.
For many Maryland families, the reality is it takes months, years, sometimes decades, before they ever find out what happened to the people they love the most, the people they lost. But there is hope on the horizon for many of them in DNA.
DNA is simply a molecule that is found in every nucleated cell in your body.
Detectives take evidence, send it to a biologist, and have them extract the DNA.
We generate a DNA profile, so we get a result for each one of those tests, and we put that DNA profile into the CODIS system.
The profile can't tell them what color the hair the person has, if they are black or white. It can't even tell them if they are a man or a woman. Inside all of us is a unique code, and when a criminal is arrested and charged, their code is also entered into the national database. The hope is for a match.
The system started in 1994, and it took 10 years before we got our 1,000th hit. We've gotten our 2,000th hit within 2.5 years.
The family of Doris Smalls is just one example of the thousands of Maryland families praying for an answer. For 14 years, her family wondered who violently raped and murdered Doris in her Northwest Baltimore apartment.
It was a very brutal crime. She was sexually assaulted also.
Then one day, the break they prayed for came. A DNA match linked to Byron Huff, to her murder.
So what happened was this particular person has been arrested in Anne Arundel County for another murder, and his DNA was in the CODIS system.
Huff was arrested after his wife and son walked out on him trying to hide the body of another woman, another victim. They turned him in. He was convicted, automatically putting his DNA into a database.
Our officers went down to Anne Arundel County and rid him out of jail and brought him to the office, which time he didn't admit it.
Detectives knew they had their guy. When he wouldn't confess during questioning, they decided to take another swab. Again, a match. With the evidence mounting against him, Huff finally admitted to killing Doris Smalls. Doris's case is just one of many examples. Although DNA isn't always available, it is helping to solve cases that would have otherwise stayed cold. Take the Maryland State Police's 2000th CODIS hit. His name was Pavs Run. His victim, a woman who was simply on her way to work.
She got in her car at 6:30 in the morning to go to work, and when she got in, there was an individual in the back seat who put a knife to her throat and proceeded to have her drive to a location, at which point he sexually assaulted her.
This happened in 1998. The technology was much different then, less advanced.
At that time, we used a technique called RFLP, which required a very large DNA sample. You would need a visible blood stain about the size of a quarter to get any sort of result.
Over time, they advanced to a new system called PCR that needed smaller samples, like a skin cell from a fingerprint.
With that type of testing, the sensitivity has drastically increased, where at this time we're even at the point where we can get DNA from touch samples.
So when the evidence was resubmitted, this time, biologists got the code, and Pavs Run's DNA was a match.
We got a hit.
Pav was already serving time for another rape and murder.
When you get, one hit, it's amazing. Now that we're over 2,000 hits, people get a lot of satisfaction out of it.
It's the silver lining in an otherwise awful situation. But to the families who go to bed every night wondering, getting that answer is all that matters. Roosevelt Leftwich, ABC 2 News.
And for more information on our Maryland's Cold Case series, check out the webpage at abc2news.com/coldcases.